Small and medium enterprises or SMEs are an important part of Singapore's economy. They contribute half of Singapore's gross domestic product. And they employ 6 out of every 10 workers. To survive, entrepreneurs behind these enterprises have to be astute strategists, leading their companies to greater heights in a highly competitive business environment. The Strategist is the story of these entrepreneurs and the experts who help them on their journey to success. He's an active animal conservationist, believing that global warming harms wildlife more than humans. And whatever lifestyle choices we make now, we have to consider their repercussions. He's one of the few who drives a diesel car in Singapore. 5 years ago, he and his friends searched for an alternative fuel that's environmentally friendly. They found biodiesel, and it's his way of making a difference in the world we live in. Going green in our daily life does help to save the earth, but these two Singaporeans who love outdoor adventures want to do more. They want their company, Alpha Biofuels, to make a global impact by generating clean energy from waste. Their mission? To help individuals and communities reduce their carbon footprint.
Saving the world cannot be a hobby. And I firmly believe that if you want to have a hobby, go plant a plant. If you want to really get your hands dirty, you can only do it one way. It's walking the talk, and really influencing people. Nothing beats doing this every day, you know. The ability to know that you're making a change, even with very, very small steps.
Biofuel is fuel produced from renewable biological resources. Worldwide, the market for biofuels is expected to increase by $10 billion a year. Although biofuel accounted for only 3% of the world's fuels for road transport in 2010, its future is bright. The International Energy Agency reported that biofuel will meet a quarter of the world's transport demand by 2050. And that's the market Alpha Biofuels wanted a bite of when it started in April 2008. They began making biodiesel from waste cooking oil.
Biodiesel from waste cooking oil was one of the lowest hanging fruit that we envisioned because biodiesel is chemically similar to diesel. And because of that, we are able to use biodiesel and spread it quite quickly. Unlike the other kind of technology for mobility, the hybrids, the batteries, it's still going to take time.
Every day, the Alpha Biofuels team goes round Singapore collecting used cooking oil from like-minded partners. The night safari has 2 restaurants that could serve up to 6,000 tourists each night. While Swedish furniture giant IKEA produces up to 4,000 kilograms of used cooking oil each month at its Tampines branch, serving fried chicken wings. The used cooking oil is then brought back to Alpha Biofuels plant, where a large reactor converts it into biodiesel. The reactor, costing about $400 million, produces about 4,000 liters of biodiesel each day. The biodiesel, tested to meet international standards, is now used to power forklifts and lorries at construction sites. But in less than a year, Alpha Biofuels had to reconsider its business strategy. The 2008 financial crisis almost wiped out the company.
When we were hit with the recession, we were selling at cost or slightly below cost for a long time. We realized that, we cannot keep doing this. We are a very small SME. And that is why we decided that we needed to shift our strategy and not just flood the market with cheap biodiesel.
That was when Alpha Biofuels started to embark on its innovation strategy. Alan Lim and Jack Ling want to focus on new markets, fast-growing cities that need solutions for waste disposal.
Cities that are starting to get overcrowded, cities that are being built faster than their infrastructure can manage. An example is a fast-growing city in China. It is growing so fast that the basic utilities like incineration plants, waste management plants are not built fast enough to keep up. In this case, a more adaptable system is much in need.
We can use that because basically here,
Jack and Alan are now working hard to realize their vision. Together with designers, they have developed a mini version of their technology that can be integrated with buildings. The micro-refinery will collect waste cooking oil from restaurant tenants and convert it into clean energy to power the building. Costing $250,000, the portable plant can be deployed in just 2 days, making it easy to integrate into the buildings sprouting up all over Asia quickly. Alpha Biofuels' first micro-refinery started operation in 2009. It has since produced 280,000 litres of biodiesel on this site in Singapore. Each 1,000 litre of biodiesel used will help reduce about 2,500 kilograms of carbon emission.
The strategy for Urban Solution is to start from waste management, to be able to capture that as a resource. Now, I always think that waste is a misplaced resource, and by capturing that waste within a building and converting them into energy, it's where our technology development is going.
Of constant research and development and high production quality control, Alpha Biofuels' revenue rose by 40% in 2009. The turnover for the company for 2010 was close to $1.5 million.
To implement the urban solutions in Singapore, frankly, we are not sure if it will be a success in Singapore. The reason being, Singapore is very compact. We have very efficient ways to manage our refuse. We have approached quite a few building developers. They are keen on the idea, but it always comes down to the bottom line cost, i.e., if they buy this machine, if it costs them X amount of dollars to truck out the waste, if it's going to cost them more to handle the waste in-house, why do they want to do that?
Alpha Biofuels have set up pilot micro-refinery plants in Cambodia in 2008, and 2 years ago they also started one in Kuala Lumpur. And to expand their horizon, Alan and Jack have also tried venturing into China. Their first trip was in January 2011. The United Nations estimates that 11 out of 20 mega cities are in Asia and the Pacific. Reports show the rate of urban development adds 44 million people to city populations every year. By 2050, 70% of the world population will be living in cities. The urbanization rate in China is estimated to grow from about 48% in 2010 to 52% by end of 2015. Foreseeing waste management will be one of its challenges. The Chinese government has invested $12 billion between 1998 and 2007 to encourage sustainable development.
The Chinese government and Chinese urban planners are very deeply concerned about the new buildings that they are building to be more energy efficient, to be more climate friendly. That is a good initiative for the government, not only because it's a good thing to do, but it's also directly relating to the population's needs. And they are envisioning the future cities. So when that happens, you know that they're going to put a lot more resources into design, into equipments that work very well. So they are kind of now in a testing stage right now. And they will probably need a few more years to start to adopt more advanced technology. And when that happens, Alpha will be there. And Alpha will be right in the middle of that change in China.
To be part of the change, Alpha Biofuels decides to use joint venture as a strategy to make inroad into this unfamiliar territory. And the joint venture expert who's here to help Alan and Jack is Chia Kim White. This lawyer has 20 years of experience in cross-border joint ventures and private equity investments. He also travels regularly to China to advise clients on a broad range of joint ventures in various industries.
Joint ventures generally can be classified into various types. One, what we call a specific project joint venture, whereby we come together to undertake a particular project. And once the project is over, then we dissolve the joint venture. There is another joint venture which is more of a longer term basis, whereby we come together to joint venture in this new business, for example. And this joint venture could last many years. In fact, there are joint ventures around in the world which have lasted for 50, 100 years because they see this as a mutual beneficial partnership that is intended for the long term.
Whatever the industry, SMEs have to look into a few critical areas when considering joint ventures. Both parties have to identify the common business objectives and what each can contribute to the joint venture.
The other thing you should consider is actually what is the size of the joint venture? How deep is your pocket? Because joint venture can start small, and if it's successful, the venture can grow very fast. But if you don't have deep pockets, it is better to specify upfront what is our capital commitment for this. Joint venture usually goes by equity proportion. We may start off as 50-50 equal joint venture partner. But if the business grows big and that it requires more funds, if I cannot provide funding, then my share may be diluted down the road.
Both partners must discuss about the exit plan. And in cases where you're a minority partner, keep in mind to negotiate for matters that may require your consent. Although Alpha Biofuels is eager to set foot in China, its founders have many concerns. Top on their list is the patent of their micro-refinery, which they fear could be replicated by the Chinese.
For green energy, protecting your technology and know-how is akin to the protection of your intellectual property rights. And sometimes for green energy, intellectual property rights are the most important thing. China, in a sense, in terms of the laws, they are all there. But in terms of enforcement, it is still in a state of development. So many people have said that in China, when you bring brands over, when you bring technology over, they could be copied. And the locals may then develop their own, improve on it, and then compete against you. Those are business risks which can be also found elsewhere. Except that for the last 10, 20 years, because a lot of investments have been made into China, the incidence of this arising tend to be higher. So if you are SMEs with know-how in so-called this green energy area, if you want to export this to a foreign market like China, then it's important for you to pay particular attention to how you can protect this know-how in terms of the joint venture relationship.
SME owners Alan and Jack want to bring their clean energy business, Alpha Biofuels, to China through joint ventures. But entering a new and big market poses several challenges to these greenhorns. Lawyer Chia Kim Huat, who specializes in joint ventures, is here to address their concerns and share his expertise with them.
We have a green product that we wish to bring to China. And in the last 1 year, we have found a foreign property developer with a portfolio of properties in China that wants to bring our product to their properties. And we are thinking of setting up a joint venture with them. In this scenario, what are our options moving forward?
Well, I think green solutions are always welcome in China. But before we look into what are the options, I think I would first like to understand what are you looking for in this potential joint venture partner of yours, so that we can see what is the best structure in order to meet the commercial objectives.
We are looking for a partner that could give us business access, market access. We are also looking for a partner that has good business connections to help us through this market, navigate through this market. And lastly, we are looking for a partner that is able to have financial strength to help us in expanding this market.
If that's the case, and given that your potential partner is actually a foreign property developer, my suggestion that it's better for you to set up an offshore joint venture with this foreign property developer. The offshore joint venture could be done in Singapore, and then you can then invest into China together by setting up either a rep office or even a subsidiary in China to so-called market this product in China. The advantage of setting up the offshore joint venture is that the relationship with your foreign partner is actually managed offshore. The problem about setting up an onshore joint venture is that onshore joint ventures are subject to PRC rules and regulations. And any changes to the onshore joint venture is also subjected to PRC regulatory approval, which may take time. And the offshore property developer, in the event if they are looking for funding, there are also more options in raising funds offshore. For example, in order to protect your interests, and you are a SME, you may not have deep pockets to continue funding the business by way of capital. You could have agreement with them in the offshore joint venture whereby you provide a certain level of funding, and if additional funding is required for this project, they can then provide the additional funding by way of, say, shareholders' loans. Whereas if you do it onshore, then there will be more limitations of funding the joint venture by way of shareholders' loan. So by doing so, it will allow you to protect your equity share in the joint venture in the event if there's follow-on funding required. Secondly, I think you're also concerned about your know-how, because your biggest contribution to this joint venture is actually your product, your technology. Again, these things, if you were to have a foreign joint venture, you're able to specify what are the rights you are giving to this joint venture, so that in the event if the joint venture doesn't work out, you could still protect your know-how. Likewise, if you do it on the onshore Chinese joint venture, there could be limitations on the protection of your technology. And the last aspect is market access. Market access, by funding the offshore joint venture, you can then decide together with your foreign partner what sort of entity you want to set up in China. In the sense that if you are looking for sales and marketing, you can set up just a representative office in China. In the event that you want to assemble or produce your products in China, you can set up a subsidiary, a factory in China to produce, and you have a choice of where you want to set it up. But if you do a local onshore China joint venture, then you're a bit hemmed in by where you set up and the sort of operations that you set up.
Well, we are hopeful that this venture will be very successful, but there's also a question of if it doesn't become successful. If we should arrive at that junction, what would be your advice?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question, because I think a lot of parties, when they embark on a joint venture, they always think about the good side. There will be instances whereby the joint venture fails. So it's always good to agree upfront before you enter into the joint venture, to first understand and agree that we may not see eye to eye all the times. In the event if we disagree, who should have control of the joint venture, who should have a bigger say. In the event if we still can't agree, what are the options? But exit options are also relevant not just when the joint venture fails. It could be when the joint venture is successful. Because when the joint venture is successful, the parties would want to see how to maximize their investment, how to realize their investments. A lot of the time, when people go into a joint venture, they also talk about if we are successful, should we look at listing the company? Should we look at listing the company at a suitable stock exchange? That's why the structure that we mentioned, the offshore joint venture, would allow you the flexibility. If it's successful, you can list the offshore company, say in the Singapore Stock Exchange, or you can list the onshore company in the Chinese Stock Exchange. These are all options that you can consider.
So far, we've been talking about a foreign joint venture partner. What if we find a local joint venture partner who can offer us the same level of support and network connections? Would the considerations be the same?
Okay, if the joint venture partner that you are looking at is actually a local PRC joint venture partner, then you are looking at setting up a local PRC joint venture company. In China, for any foreigners who want to invest in China, you have to first check what we call this foreign investment catalog. This foreign investment catalog actually set out what are the sort of investment that will permit foreigners to invest. For certain investment, especially green industry, it could be encouraged. That means you actually get better incentives, including tax incentives, to invest. But again, there are other industries which are a bit sensitive, so they restrict foreign investment. So you may only have a minority stake rather than control stake in the joint venture. And obviously, there are some which is prohibited. That means if yours fall into that category, then you can forget about forming any sort of joint venture to invest in China.
For all SMEs that are considering going into overseas joint ventures, Kim Huat has this advice. See the joint venture like a marriage. Once the partnership is formed, both sides must learn to give and take. To head down the road of success, both parties have to complement each other's strengths and overcome each other's weaknesses.